Do we have any guests joining us?
Not that I know of. I don't see anyone yet.
All the excitement is over, I guess, huh?
There's plenty more excitement, just different kinds of excitement.
I agree. Nothing is over yet.
All right, we are ready.
Hold on, we lost Julie. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Nothing is over yet.
Friday, November 19th at 8:18, I'm calling the Economic Development Committee to order. It does appear like we have a quorum here. I'm going to just do a roll call vote on attendance as I see them on the screen. Chris Robbins.
Here.
Michael Moorhead.
Here.
Ellen Belinak.
Here.
Julie Connolly.
Here.
John Wood. He's still on mute.
I apologize. I thought we were at 8:15. I've been trying for the last 5 minutes to get on. I don't know what I'm saying John Wood to, but yes, I am John Wood.
Yeah,
Attendance,
it was just
you're here.
roll call vote to make sure everyone's here. So
I am so sorry. I thought it was an 8:15 meeting and I'm even late for that. So I apologize.
and Rob Anderson, the chair, Matt Berger will not be able to join us today. So I'm going to hop just straight into the agenda. Report from the chair. I don't suppose I have anything too new to report. I do know that we did last meeting vote to send an open meeting complaint to town council. Town council did respond, I think, very well. And so that is just about all I'm going to say on that. Let's see. Next up on the report is member report on the master plan update. Julie, I think you had sent a chapter out to people, or at least to me.
Yeah, I just sent it to you and to Marika. I'm happy to share it with others too. I had sent the draft over to Judith Watson, and Mimi's the chair, and Judith has sort of been one of the really instrumental people on the committee, sort of putting everything together. I haven't gone through all of it. It's the changes that Judy had requested, but I'm going to try to do that today. Hopefully early next week. I think it's pretty close to final, but I just wanted you guys, and I'm happy to share with
You're breaking up, Julie.
to
Yeah, Julie.
have an opportunity to weigh in before it's final if there's anything that I'm missing, or I know I reached out to several of you individually about different projects and ideas and places where you had expertise. I don't know what's going on today. See if I move. No one can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
Yes, we can. Yep.
That you can hear me? Okay, I'll just stand here for a minute. So I can circulate it to the whole group, and you can feel free to give me any feedback you want. I've reached out to several of you individually already who had expertise in a few specific areas that I was writing about. I haven't gone through the latest round that Judith sent me that has her comments to my last revision. But we're definitely getting close there. We were kind of going through in our meeting the other night, some of the things that are listed as goals, or some things we've actually gotten done in the last few weeks, which is great, regarding downtown, but we're going to keep them on there anyway, because obviously there's still some more work to do, and then they haven't been implemented yet. So that's it.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's the master plan is an important document, and it should not be one of those things that sits on a bookcase that's never referenced and picks up dirt. And I think, and this is my own personal opinion, the one in 2008 talked about mixed use, and it took us 13 years to get that in the downtown. With this new master plan, I hope that we can reference it and use it for initiatives to improve the quality of life for residents in both the economic development and open space and recreation, historic, and all of those things that make our town a great place to live. So Julie, thank you for all of that work on the master plan. And if you could distribute it out to everybody.
Yep.
Please, people, if you do see it and you want to respond, please respond to Julie directly.
Yep.
Do not send it out to the full group because that could start a discussion, and we don't want to do that. So I think we should all, as a committee, have a chance to see it, because we can't all attend the master plan committee meetings. But when you respond, please just, if you have any comments, send them to Julie directly.
Thank you, Robin. Just one very short point on that. The committee has spent a lot of time talking about acknowledging that, you know, a lot of work has gone into this, and we don't want it to be a shelf decoration. So we do have, as part of the full master plan, there is part of that is a implementation and accountability plan to make sure that, you know, the goals are actually implemented. So.
And I think that's a wonderful thing, because if you're looking to implement some of the economic development initiatives, and that was a goal of the master plan committee, then perhaps the transition from a part-time to a full-time economic development person to help implement some of those goals and assist cross specialty, such as getting economic development involved in some of the other initiatives in the town, might justify that transition, which might be one of our goals as the committee going forward. So thank you for that. Are there any comments from the committee members on the master plan update? Seeing none, I'm just going to move on to the coordinators report from Marika.
Thank you, Rob. So I have a few things. I sent out an email, I think it was not this
God bless
week.
you, Chris.
Can you hear me? Sorry. An update about last week. I attended the feedback session for the One Stop Community Grant Program. I won't elaborate too much because I sent out an email with all that information, but the good news is that we scored pretty good. And there'll be, end of this year, there's a new round that we might be eligible for. So I think the EDC should maybe edit their application slightly, but try to apply again for the next round of grant opportunities. The other discussion I had or attended was a Q&A with organized by 495 Metro West Partnership about e-commerce, the booming e-commerce industry and warehousing. And I love your dog, Julie. And again, I'm not sure. It was interesting to hear about all these new industries and to think how Southborough could profit from that. But I think it's all in the email that I sent out. I am going to have another, actually, the other topic that was on my agenda was, I guess, green initiatives. I had spoken to John Parent, and I wasn't aware that he's actually quite busy implementing all kinds of green initiatives, primarily with the schools. So he's looking at solar panels for the roofs. He's looking at electric vehicles for the public safety, for police and fire. And he's also implementing, installing electric vehicle chargers. Anyways, I'm having a meeting with him next week to hear exactly what all his initiatives are and how we could work with him, or how we could expand on that. with maybe more solar panels on, like we discussed last meeting, on parking lots, for instance, as well as maybe look at commercial properties and see what programs are out there to assist them with doing some upgrades. I know Mass Development has an initiative called PACE, where they help finance some of these green initiatives for commercial buildings. So my idea is we could approach these real estate owners and see if they would be interested and kind of assist them with that. So that was last week. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to say on that, that's awesome. And I think like what we talked about last time, having, it'll be important to kind of have a bigger coordinated effort in order to get, sort of the bang for our buck on solar panels and charging stations and things like that. And just since we talked about this last, the new federal budget that's coming out just has so much money for that kind of stuff in there. Like, this is a really good time, but we should definitely strike while the iron's hot on that. And that could be a big win for the town. It could be revenue. It could provide revenue for the town and, be the right thing to do also, and spur economic development. So it's sort of win all around. And there could be a lot of money available for it too. So
Agree.
that's all.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to have any comments or discussions? So then this week, together with Claire, I attended 2 different conferences. The first one was in Franklin, the town of Franklin, on Monday morning. They had organized a session with Mr. Chuck Maron. He's the Strong Towns, I guess, a movement president or head of the Strong Towns movement, where he's a former engineer, civil engineer, and it's all about how to improve the financial resiliency of towns by, I guess, working together and making incremental changes. So he was there together with, on Zoom, there was the congressman was there, Jake, I can't pronounce his last name, Auchincloss, but he was there before signing the big infrastructure bill with President Biden. There were, who else was there? Let's see. Anyway, it was well attended by a lot of actually state and municipal representatives. And it was a really interesting discussion. And I think a lot of, I might just write it all down in kind of like a, and send it around. I still have to kind of wrap my head around it, but it's all about, we're different departments working together, seeing this as a holistic approach. I mean, he touched on the revitalization of downtown, the importance of biking and pedestrian walkways, and focusing on those things and how to use these infrastructure funds, for making our towns more economically strong. Anyway, so, and then on Wednesday, I attended the annual MARPA conference, which is Massachusetts Association of Regional Planning Agencies. And it was all about ARPA funding, which again was really interesting. There were I think more than 100 attendees. There were 3 secretaries who spoke. There was a keynote by the governor. And again, there were breakout sessions discussing housing, discussing infrastructure, a lot of, and speakers who kind of gave their experiences and spoke about the opportunities and different programs that they had implemented regarding business development, helping small businesses. Wastewater was a big thing, wastewater infrastructure. And I don't know if Claire wants to add anything to that, but these were really kind of very interesting conferences. And my biggest takeaway was actually that there's a lot of funding out there. It's very kind of confusing still, like where to go, but there's so much funding. But the main thing is that we need to have like a holistic approach as a town when we want to apply for something, because it's all related, whether it's housing, housing choice, and diversity, and economic development, and open space, and connectivity. So, as an economic development department or committee, we should be working together with planning, with DPW, and kind of coordinate our projects. But I think some of that we will discuss on our next agenda item when we want to talk about ARPA funding, etc. So anyways, Claire, maybe do you want to add anything? I know it's a bit of all over the place.
Thanks. These sessions were great. One thing about the one on Monday morning in Franklin, and Marika gave a great recap, but I would like to add Carolyn Dykema was there. It was sponsored by, or hosted by, so to speak, the One Stop person who's actually a councilman also in the city of Franklin, who's responsible for One Stop. They also had the town administrator from Franklin there, along with, in the audience, and people who got up and asked questions were a mix of town planners from around the town, as far out as the western part of the state. They had their local person who was actually a congressman representative, who was on their 2010 master plan. The point is that this was all very, very well attended by a variety of people who were interested in this. The second thing is on the session on Wednesday, which was also excellent. They had breakout sessions, and Marika and I split them up because you couldn't attend all of them. So we picked the ones that, we thought were most relevant. They were very, very well. They had over 250 people on the Zoom call, and the breakout sessions were excellent. A lot of the information was very relative to what we are doing in, or hopefully trying to do in Southborough. Here's my concern. It's very good that Marika and I understand this. And if the local officials here, between either the town administrator, assistant town administrator, the town planner, whoever, if local people don't have the time to attend these sessions, so be it. However, it does the town absolutely no good if Marika and I are the only two people who know what has been presented in those sessions. The point is, there needs to be much more coordination with all of these programs that the government is offering and all of the grants. And I'm sure Rob will have some suggestions on this in terms of how the town works together to maximize our opportunity.
So Claire, that's a very good point. And I think one of the things that will be helpful for us going forward is the fact that the state decided to move many of the grants underneath the Community One Stop. And so because it's all located in one place and the applications are that much easier, we should have the opportunity to go after some funds for infrastructure, economic development, planning, zoning, and things like that. But I think that's also one of the roles where, and Marika had mentioned this, a little bit of a briefing on what was said at those events, which can be distributed to our other members and other boards, because as I think you both said, their coordination and their help is going to be so important to getting anything done. And I would point right back at town meeting, where planning, the Board of Selectmen, advisory, and economic development were all on the same side for a zoning change. And although that took 2 years, I think everyone can be proud of the work and collaboration that happened. using that as a model for some of the other things that were brought up for ARPA, our clean energy and sustainability, and the Route 9 redevelopment is going to be so important. So each time someone says, well, I'm not sure it can work, we point back to the previous town meeting. And I think that's going to be very important, but at least identifying some of our goals going forward. And that's going to be how I transition to the next agenda items, which are clean energy and sustainability, which Marika, you had kind of gone over, and a business development focus on Route 9. Those should be some of the initiatives where we bring in our partners on it. Because although the downtown is perhaps closer to people's hearts, the real economic change that we're going to see is on Route 9. And there are certain things that might need to be done from a zoning and infrastructure perspective to really, let's call it, fill some of those empty spaces. The Kaz building, the Andrea restaurant site, and that large land site on the eastbound side right across from Ken's. And for the life of me, I can't remember who owns it, but that is one.
Bartolini.
Bartolini, yes. So it's on the discussion items, and I think I'm going to focus on both of them, although we've spoken about them and there might not be too much to say. But the first discussion item, clean energy and sustainability. Yes, we should be doing it. I'm so glad that the town is looking into it. I think the one thing that I would like to hear, Marika, from your meeting with, I think, Jeff, is the idea of car canopies on parking lots. I think that's, people don't think about that as a possibility when they think about solar. And the thing is, it's a great way to utilize space that hasn't been used before, besides parking cars. So that's just my thoughts on that. Any other thoughts on discussion about clean energy and sustainability?
I just want to add on to what you said, Rob, about the car canopies. I think one super great local example is the REI in Framingham. I mean, they do it, and they even have a big, I don't want to call it a poster. It's like a standing board that talks about the benefits, like how much money they save and what it costs, and like the recoup factor. So it's like a 2-for-1. It's like, there's a great example, and here's how it worked out. So if we, I don't want to say have trouble selling it, but if we pitch this and have people, if they're having a hard time wrapping their head around it, we can just say, literally drive 10 minutes away and go see a live example. So I support that.
Yeah, that is a great example. Yeah, Marika.
So I know the only thing, and I think I spoke to John about this briefly, and they're going to bring up the fact that they need to snowplow the parking lot, and that will create a problem, or it'll be more complicated to do that when they have the canopies. But I think we need to prepare for that kind of argument. But otherwise, I don't see any downside.
Well, I think if we kind of, as a group, we might be able to think about what some of those arguments might be and be proactive in finding the answers. Plowing is going to be one. Someone's going to ask, can I park my truck underneath it? Which we'd want to find out how high they are off the ground. Someone might say they're kind of ugly. Someone might say, aren't we going to lose parking spaces as a result? Someone might say, how does the financing work? It's too complicated. We don't want to do it because it's too complicated. I think maybe what we can try to do is find some answers to those questions to address them early on. Because I'm sure we're not the first community that's thought about this, that's come up with people who say it's not going to work.
I just want to reinforce what Claire and Marika have done, go to these meetings, and what, Rob, you were inferring or mentioning. We have to get other people to go to these meetings. Anytime something comes up, educating all the key board members that they could participate is going to enable us to get everybody on board. So every effort to get people involved in everything that we're doing, whether it's going to meetings to listen to the governor, that's going to add real momentum to our efforts when we get other people on board.
Yeah, and I think if we just if we're doing something in Franklin, we remind everyone in Southborough that Jamie Helen, who is the town administrator down there in Franklin, is a Southborough resident. You know, say, hey, listen, he knows what he's talking about, and he lives here. So you know that could always be a
Well,
good
maybe
thing.
we could get, if there's a videotape of the event and put it on the Southborough blog or put it on the town blog or our website, or have her speak and
Him.
be interviewed.
Him. Jamie is a guy. Yeah, Jamie Helen. Yeah, thank you, Claire. So clean energy and sustainability. The business focused development on Route 9. That should be our, it is one of our top priorities. We've got some empty properties there. And we have had some discussions with property owners over the past. I think one of the things we might want to continue that again, maybe get to build a Petrie in, you know, get a professional developer's opinion about ARPA funding and why it might be useful to him as a private developer, particularly as a large property owner on Route 9, and how those federal funds could help us leverage private sector dollars to enhance what we have on Route 9. I think Route 9 is the next focus for us. And I don't want my voice to be the only one on that. Do people agree? What are some thoughts from the committee?
On which part? On Route 9 being the focus or the ARPA funds?
Both.
Yeah, absolutely. Route 9 has to be our big focus. I've been saying a long time, we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem. It's going to get worse. You know, now I think the time is right to do these things. You get the infrastructure bill coming out, with hopefully have a lot of money. Maybe we can, maybe we should set up another meeting with Capital. We had a meeting with them, a joint meeting. Well, I attended their meeting a long time ago to talk about sewage on Route 9 and maybe putting that in the future capital thing. There may be money for that. The biggest problems we have along Route 9 is no water or sewage, as we all know. You can't get a life science or biotech lab in because we have no water or sewage. You can't get a real restaurant or brewery in because we have no water or sewage. The other big problem we have on there, obviously, is traffic flow. And like when Marika was talking about e-commerce and warehouse, Northborough just put a moratorium on that because they had a Dewey Pile, they had FedEx, and then they had Amazon come in, and now they have too much truck traffic. We're already having a problem on Route 9 with truck traffic at that turnaround, so we really need to address that. We have so many things to look at Route 9. I think this is the perfect time on this. There's money that's going to be coming available for infrastructure. We need infrastructure desperately, and you know, we have a good track record in town with getting things accomplished if we can make it a collaborative effort with the last zoning bylaw downtown and public safety. So I think you're going to be talking about an ARPA subcommittee shortly, Rob, potentially.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll hold off on to that then, but I totally agree that Route 9 should be our biggest effort. We have a lot of underutilized, crappy buildings, you know, for lack of a better word to describe, like the Andrea and the Blights that we have along Route 9. It's a travesty. I mean, we have a beautiful town, and then you drive down that piece of Route 9, just go,
underutilized, unused, empty, falling apart. And I think to your point, water and sewer are drivers for redevelopment of some of those sites, and potentially, because we're still below our 10%, and Claire and Marika probably would have heard that mixed use and housing is an economic development driver.
absolutely.
Route 9 can be that driver. And if housing is a component of that, and water and sewer are a component of that, and we have ARPA funds, there is then the potential for MassWorks grants, particularly in that area where we need it. So I think that's a great jumping off point for Route 9. Any other thoughts from people on Route 9 and some of those initiatives that we might want to see there?
Sorry, I just want to jump in, and I want to just say that we've kind of known that these were the hurdles, like infrastructure, wastewater, traffic, zoning, and I think they were all mentioned in the 2008 master plan as well. And I think we can focus on that, but most importantly, does the town, meaning do the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, the elected board members, do they agree that this is a priority? I think they need to make a decision that, is this the time, now that there's money available through so many funding, is this the time where everyone's gonna, pursue this? Do they want to do this, or do they not want to pursue, these big projects, basically? Because I don't think, the EDC can push for it, definitely, but I don't think it's bigger than an EDC priority.
Well, so I suppose I asked a question that I perhaps know the answer to already. Who asks the planning board and the Board of Selectmen whether or not they share that same vision? Do we go and do we say, hey, listen, Route 9 is an issue. We think infrastructure such as water and sewer are important. We have ARPA funds available. We have heard from people, the governor, secretary for both energy and transportation and economic development, who've said mixed use and housing is an economic driver. We have Route 9, which everyone agrees that there's some traffic issues, but it is our lifeline to revenue, as John brought up. We think we should do X. Do we ask them that question outright, or do we pull them in one by one for, kind of meetings in a kind of more informal group like this? I don't know. What's the thought? John, Chris?
Yeah, what's going to drive a change in attitudes is the town and other towns are being financially challenged. We have these unfunded pensions that are going to be, Southborough had something like 5 million, and they're having to, so that's one major issue. The state has the worst unfunded pension problem in almost the country. And it's going to be a crushing debt, and money is going to need to be brought in to pay those bills. The second thing is taxes are going up because, Marika, you may have that information, is that the revenues expected from businesses or properties is not what they had projected. And there's going to be an increase in property taxes to make up for the revenue that has not come in. So I don't have the detail on that, but I think will be driving this is a revenue stream that has to increase to address these two issues that are with us.
And without sounding like I'm angry about the 2+ years it took us to get the zoning passed in the downtown, that extra revenue comes from growth. And there was a 6,000 square foot building proposed in our downtown, which would have been paying tax revenue for a year and a half, but was turned down because we didn't have the right zoning in place. And we need to see some growth. Route 9 is the place for growth, which I think bolsters our case for some type of infrastructure improvements, because we can't have a short-term gap filler. This has to be long-term and sustainable economic development growth, and that comes off infrastructure.
What do we? I think, if I may, I think what you just said is key, and I think we should be leading with what that financial challenge is, and this is a part of the solution to address it.
What can we go after, though? Let's be realistic. What can we hit? our shortfalls? Can we get, a big water main out to Route 9? Can we get some actual central sewage system for Route 9 specifically? Is that the kind of, we know those are the shortfalls of why businesses don't come to Route 9. Is that what we can start to go after? The big
John?
nut, right?
So yes, with the water main sewage on Route 9, it'd be easier to, I mean, both Westboro, I believe Westboro, I know Framingham has sewage, and the newer sewage pipes are only like this big instead of being huge because they get different grinders that go in. So it wouldn't be as big a deal. I believe this is only what I believe what I was told. So it wouldn't be as big of an upheaval to put these in an undertaking to tap into that. Ideally, but I'd love to see town sewage, town-wide, but I don't see that in the future. But if we could even just get it on Route 9, that would make a huge difference. And I know, we could tap into framing. This is a pretty good chance to be able to do it with the infrastructure bill. The ARPA funds to me is a Band-Aid. And I know there's a lot of talk about using it to offset taxes next year to give townspayers some relief on it. Do I agree with that? In theory, yes and no. Do I think they should use all of it for it? No. But do I think they should use some? Yeah, I think this year's taxes are going to hurt a lot of seniors and a lot of people. So getting Route 9, figuring out what we definitely need to draw a business in there and what we want and a strategic plan. Absolutely. I think Marika's got a pretty good presentation for Route 9 that she's had. I think this is the time we should probably meet, have a joint meeting or ask to be on the agenda of Board of Selectmen and invite advisory too, to just show them what we think on Route 9. And everybody, even the townspeople saying, like, even the naysayers that are against the EDC, why aren't they working on Route 9? Well, we have been, we've never stopped. We just weren't that public about it. Marika's presentation is great. I think we should have a meeting with the Board of Selectmen sooner than later to just give them an update, what we're doing, what we want, especially now that they're going to be making the subcommittee for ARPA funds, the subcommittee for the ARPA funds. What a great opportunity to talk to, because there's going to be a planning board member. There's going to be an advisory member. There's going to be a capital member. This is a time to set a long-term strategy for the town to get everybody on board, trying to figure out how we can make money on Route 9. Everybody agrees that's the place to do it. So now it's time to put up a shut up. What do we want? How are we going to do it? What do we need to accomplish it? What I think is a loss is, excuse me, the redistricting our town. So Carolyn Dykeman will no longer be our rep, which is a travesty because she's awesome. And I think that starts next year sometime. I read it real quick, but that's too bad because she is a great advocate for Southborough. And maybe we could start something while she's still there.
And to that, no, Chris, if I might,
Please.
I got two things. One, funds to find out what we need on Route 9 can be part of a community one-stop grant that I think we should apply for. And second, a question: when they redistrict, do you know who our new representative might be?
I think it's an open seat.
Open seat. Okay.
Wide open.
Yeah, we're going to be with like Northborough, part of Westboro. So they're just realigning everything, but this is an open seat.
Okay.
So who's running?
Part of Framingham, a little bit of Framingham, a little bit of Northborough, all of Northborough, some of Northborough.
I think all
They
of
pulled
Northborough, part of
Jamie
Westboro.
Eldridge. Oh, sorry.
I think it's all or most of Northborough and also a big part of Westboro, I think is what I read.
Yeah,
There was
and
an article
maybe
about it
Eldridge
the other
won't
day.
be our rep anymore either. So we're
Yeah.
going to be all brand new, both sides.
Yeah, exactly. And which is tough because we have such great relationships with our elected representatives. So
Yeah.
And Chris?
No, I just wanted to second what John said. You said it right. You nailed it right on the head. We've got to get to the Board of Selectmen with a game plan ASAP to get their full support, get the whole town on what we've just talked about. So sooner rather than later. And thank you, John.
yeah, and I agree with that, John, too. I think we're not elected officials. I think we let them know what our plans are, make sure they agree to it, try to get their buy-in behind certain things. as Rob started off by saying, with things, even if they're slow, they'll get better done if we kind of have some consensus. So, and I agree. I think there's a couple of things we're working on right now, I hope, and I hope are things, between Route 9 and some of the sustainable initiatives that we're talking about that also work together to drive revenue, I think are ones we can hopefully build consensus around easily.
So from the sense of the room, I get the impression that asking to be on the Board of Selectmen agenda is something that we should do sooner rather than later. And we should have ask for a 5-minute presentation by, as chair, it might be me, but myself and Marika, to do a 5-minute overview of we've accomplished one goal with the help of the Board of Selectmen. These are the next ones we want to try. Am I reading the room correctly? And that maybe we should take a vote to ask to go on the Board of Selectmen to make a 5-minute presentation on new initiatives?
I'll make a motion to request to be on the selectmen's agenda to discuss new initiatives and agendas for Route 9.
I second John Wood's motion.
Okay, excellent. Any discussion? Michael?
What do we think those initiatives are? I mean, just big picture, right?
Well, I'm going to, and John, please, I'm going to parrot some of the things that you were saying. Infrastructure, redevelopment of underutilized and empty properties, pursuing economic development initiatives that have been pushed by the state, which include a mix of uses and which might include housing on Route 9. Have I hit those three correctly, John and Marika? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty much what we've been asking for in all our grant applications. And I just want to point out that in terms of infrastructure, Claire had submitted a grant application to the EEA, the Environmental and Energy Affairs Department. I'll call it that, I forget. But that was precisely to do a study on what central wastewater system for Route 9 would be possible. And then for the one stop, which we were unsuccessful for this round, I think our intention is to resubmit it, which was also for zoning update, because one of the issues is we have a lot of Office B space, which is like the least attractive or in-demand space right now, mixed use. So update the zoning and look at the traffic, see how we can improve traffic patterns. And I think those are the three big things that we had identified even earlier after talking to businesses, after talking to some of the real estate developers, and looking at and another thing actually would be the another important thing is the tax incentives, the financing, which other towns like Westboro are doing, and it's giving them an additional competitive advantage over Southborough. Equally important, and I think I'm happy that the Board of Selectmen approved the single tax rate for businesses. Those things are kind of important to not make Southborough even less attractive for businesses.
When did they pass that single tax rate vote?
Sorry?
When was those? Was there a
I think that was the last, if I understand, last Board of Selectmen meeting.
Correct.
That's a big deal, people. That's a big statement on behalf of the board, because a few years ago, they tried to implement the dual tax rate, and actually the board voted for it, and it took 60 businesses standing room only to reverse the vote.
A single tax rate is very important. How can you be business friendly if you tax the businesses more severely than the residents? So I agree in a single tax rate. And I think, Marika, the fact that we have applied for grants using those kind of initiatives that John brought up in the past kind of just strengthens our position with the Board of Selectmen. So, Michael, to answer your question, I think that's kind of what those initiatives are. And I think they fit in with our mission in the past and our mission going forward, to kind of get something that is sustainable. Marika, to your point about tax incentives, Southborough could use them for new construction and changing the assessed value of properties if there's job creation that comes along with it. I would say that one of our positions needs to be that if someone identifies the Kaz building or the Andrea restaurant location for investment, that we advocate that the town consider tax incentives in those locations, because tax incentives in Massachusetts are based upon the incremental increase in the assessed value of the property. If it just goes from office to office, that really doesn't move the needle at all. However, demolition, repurposing a building, and making investments in there does. And that's where we could potentially do it. I think Westborough's last tax incentives were for the Olympus building, brand new construction. If we had empty lots where we had something going up, we could do the same thing. But to John's point, we don't have the water and sewer infrastructure for Bartolini's site to offer those incentives. So that's kind of where the catch-22 comes up. So Michael, hopefully I answered your question, and we did all that. And we did have a motion on the floor from John, seconded by Alan, about getting on the Board of Selectmen's meeting for a quick update and an identification of initiatives. Any more discussion on that? Seeing none, I'm going to do a roll call vote as I see them on the board. Chris Robbins?
Yes.
Michael Moorhead?
Yes.
Alan Belenak?
Yes.
John Wood?
Yes.
Julie Connolly?
Yes.
Rob Anderson? Yes. Marika, if you could work on that, that would be awesome. It is time sensitive, but we can obviously be amenable to a time that works best for the Board of Selectmen. But given the fact that the next item for discussion might tie in, the next item on the agenda is assign an EDC representative on ARPA Fund Ad Hoc Committee. I suppose first off, it's more administrative than anything else. So we would have to have a nomination, a second, and a vote for our representative. Is there anyone on the committee who would like to participate before I make a call for nominations? I don't see anyone volunteering. So I suppose before I ask for nominations, do we have any discussion on that? Thoughts from people on the committee?
Well, I assume Marika would be involved, obviously.
Well, first of all, if I can say something, I haven't received an official email yet from Mark Purple that we need to assign someone right now. I know the Board of Selectmen discussed this at a previous meeting, early November, and then discussed it again at their last meeting. And I do believe an EDC representative was asked for, so that's why I put it on the agenda. I think it's so basically it'll be a representative from advisory, and maybe John, you can help me, because capital planning. They would like someone from the master planning board, and EDC.
Planning, capital, advisory, EDC, and I believe 2 or 3 members of the public.
Yeah. And it's basically to decide what to do with the 3 million of funding that Southborough is receiving. So this is not for other possible ARPA funding, for federal grant applications or whatnot, or infrastructure, or whatever. This is just to see how best to utilize the 3 million that was assigned
Yeah.
to the town.
This would also be a great that group would be a great opportunity to try to tie things together without using ARPA funds as well. It might be a good catalyst for future conversations with these other groups. So I think it's a pretty good idea. And I think it's a great committee that I think we definitely should have representation in from somebody. If nobody wants to do it, I could do it. I think I could find time. If anybody else has any appetite to doing it, feel free. But I think this is a great opportunity to look at again, I think $3 million is a Band-Aid to go for a bunch of stuff. I don't think it's going to help our overall taxes, but if it helps offset some now, I'm interested in listening to it. But I think we need more than this, and it needs to be a strategic plan. So this might be a good platform to launch from that as well, with the people involved in that. So
I'm just thinking, John, do you think this committee is specifically set up for those $3 million funds, for which they also, I think, have a consultant who's helping the town?
Yep.
Could this also be a start of, I think the committee should be expanded and look at other, funding sources out there. So it's because it's
Exactly.
kind of, and maybe I'm thinking, I don't know if DPW should be involved as well, because a lot of this is also infrastructure, and you want to kind of combine whatever other projects they have with potentially any, wastewater or whatever. But anyways, it
Right,
could
that's
be
a really good point about DPW. That's really a good point, I think.
So maybe this could, then kind of evolve into a committee that searches for, funding for Southborough through ARPA.
Exactly. It's a great catalyst. It could morph into something that could work and benefit the town substantially.
Yeah, it does sound like a great committee. And the one thing I really like that term catalyst, because and not to put more on Marika's plate, nor tie back and call back to something I said at the beginning. The idea of a full-time economic development person could be very useful for long-term business growth and sustainability. And if this particular ad hoc group of ARPA funds begins identifying different grants that we could apply for as a town, conceivably, the economic development coordinator could be a grant applicant for lots of funds that might not necessarily be underneath the purview of economic development, a way to help justify that position and help us get more bang for our buck from Marika and for the town. And so maybe that's one of the things that we think about as well, because I know Marika does more than just her part-time work, and I think we could be doing more. John,
we have a full-time economic development coordinator. I'd just like it to be paid for it.
Yes, yeah.
I know how much she works, and
yeah,
definitely be compensated. Thank you.
So, yes. So I did see a note from Alan, and I'm not sure as the chair whether or not I can make a nomination for an ad hoc committee. Marika, maybe you can.
Can I have to have the ad hoc committee formed before we actually?
Well, this is for the ad hoc committee for the EDC representative on the ARPA funds thing. Do I have to form the ad hoc committee, or?
No, has that ad hoc been formed by the selectmen is what I'm asking.
Oh,
yes. So we just need to assign a person to that committee.
Could I, as the chair, make a motion that if an ad hoc ARPA funds committee is formed,
there you go,
the EDC would like to nominate John Wood as the John, if you don't want it, I could nominate someone else.
No, it's all good. I do. It's got to get done. It's a good one.
Yeah. So
I second that motion.
excellent.
That was very fast, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah. Any discussion on this? Okay. So we do have a motion. Now, obviously, this is non-binding because the committee is not formed yet, and we do have a member, Matt Berger, who isn't here. So at the moment, this is non-binding. If we had to make a recommendation, it would be for John Wood. So I've got the motion. I've got a second. I'm going to take a vote as I see it. Chris Robbins,
Yes,
Michael Moorhead,
Yes.
Alan Belenak,
Yes.
Julie Connolly,
Yes.
John Wood,
Abstain.
Rob Anderson, yes. So we've kind of done that. Now, approval of minutes. We have minutes for September 24th, 2021 and October 7th, 2021. Any comments or discussions on that? Marika?
Yeah, sorry, I revised the agenda, and we also have minutes for October. Sorry, what did you say earlier?
I said September 24th and October 7th.
We have minutes for October 5, AM and PM, and minutes for November 1st as well. So
We've got lots of minutes. Hopefully, everyone had a chance to see those minutes. Are there any comments on any of those? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of meeting minutes for September 24th, October 5th, AM and PM, October 7th, and November 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No. Okay, I'm gonna go through roll call vote as I see him. Chris Robbins,
yes,
Michael Moorhead,
Yes.
Alan Belenak,
Yes.
John Wood. I saw a head nod, yes.
Yes.
Julie Connolly,
Yes.
Rob Anderson, yes. We have those all approved. Next up is unfinished business. I think we've covered everything. New business. John, yeah, maybe you want to talk?
Yeah, so I'm a patient at Reliant Southborough, and I got a survey yesterday, the day before, asking where I would go to travel if they relocated. Did not like that. Asking about Framingham Southborough line, Westboro on the Southborough line, Northborough, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they're moving. I saw Marika, I don't know if anybody looked at that Worcester Business Journal article that Marika sent out, where a big chunk of building over in the Staples in the 990 development was just sold that could house quite well Reliant, which makes me nervous. That would be a huge loss for this town if Southborough Medical pulled out. I want to find out more on that. I don't know that much information on it right now on what's going on or any of that, but I think that's definitely something we should try to find out and touch back on. That's really all I have.
yeah, so I'm aware. I received the same survey, and I spoke to some people within the town. I spoke to the owner of the Reliant Medical building. Even though
nice.
they're not saying anything. And I was in touch with the Reliant Medical real estate person a while back, so I'm trying to get hold of him so we can kind of have a discussion. I know Reliant was, I think, bought out or bought over by a big insurance company, so I'm not sure if they're looking at, relocating and reorganizing all their locations. I believe even the Natick Mall, part of it will be medical offices. I'm not sure if it's Reliant or another company, but it's definitely something we should, try to talk to people about. It would be horrible if they would leave.
That's a lot of
sure.
foot traffic to downtown. That's a lot of pizzas. That's a lot of sandwiches. That's a lot of Moros. That's a lot of,
And a lot of tax
that's a
income.
lot of gas. That's a lot of everything. That's,
Yeah, I think we should be giving this a priority and talking to the CEO. I don't know, Marika, did you talk to Tony Kwan? I assume he's the property owner.
Yeah, well, he's out of town. I spoke to his representative. He's saying he doesn't think so because they've made a lot of investments. But, with these bigger companies, you don't know. It's the same with EMC. I mean, they did a huge amount of investments on their campus. And then they sold to Dell. And so I don't think that's something, we should really take it serious. Because that survey, doesn't bode well.
Whoever is the head honcho down at Reliant, we ought to be meeting with, have an official visit. And I'd say call back Tony Kwan's office and ask you want to talk to him on the phone. He could be over in China, but
yeah, he is.
He's anybody's accessible today. So it's worth.
I know, but I think it's better to talk to Reliant. I mean, they've rented out that space for a period of time, and I don't know what they could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. But so.
Yeah, Marika, if you are able to get in touch with any of them, and there's the opportunity for a face-to-face meeting, or Zoom. I guess Zoom is the new face-to-face. If you want to have some members of the committee come along as well, I think that might be useful, because one, it allows for more questions and allows for us to feel useful, but it also can add more firepower to our arguments because we will be hearing it directly from either the property owner or the tenant. So if you can get something set up and need some representatives, send something out to the group and maybe one or two, so we don't have a quorum, participate as well.
And maybe a board of selectmen. I don't know.
The board of selectmen is important. Yeah. And at least they should know about it, because even if they can't participate, I think they need to know those things that we're doing that are not nearly as, let's call it controversial, like zoning in the downtown, where people say, why is the EDC doing this? Why aren't they doing X? And we have to have some cover from them, given the fact that we are talking with large property owners and tenants in our downtown. We have initiatives on Route 9, and we have other thoughts that are not just, 19 parcels in the downtown. So having someone on the board of selectmen would be important. So, John, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's something that we should try to keep our eye on, because we have hit the downtown, we did the zoning, but that particular building and that tenant and those resources are an amenity that are beneficial to lots of residents. And the multiplier effect by having that potentially empty and not having the jobs nor the people utilizing Reliance services in our downtown is going to be detrimental to us as a community. So I think we need to keep it on our radar screen. So John, thank you for bringing that up.
Sorry,
right.
I had one more item that I wanted, I didn't discuss earlier. I'm trying to set up, I'm in touch with Gary Holmes from RW Holmes Real Estate. He's willing to talk to us about, challenges and opportunities specific to Southborough commercial real estate. And I would like to, we're trying to set up a face-to-face meeting. I don't know if we want to do this as part of a regular EDC meeting or if we just want to go there with, two representatives. maybe again, I can invite a Board of Selectmen person, because I think it would be helpful, to get them more involved so they can hear it from the directly instead of, through us.
So let me open this up to the the committee. Do you think it's better for us to do this, have him present to the committee as a whole, or is it more beneficial for us to have something face to face with only up to 3 committee members?
I think it'd be beneficial for all of us to hear. So I know that might present another challenge in terms of organizing everything, but like as one example, like I happened to miss our last meeting, and there are things being discussed here that I'm like so out of the loop on. So I'd hate to only have a few people attend this meeting and then be further behind. So I'm a vote of let's talk to everyone as we can, so no one feels behind.
Yeah, and if we proceed with that, bringing Gary Holmes in, that the Board of Selectmen should be invited to attend. They need to be involved. We did that early on when we kicked off economic development. We actually had Board of Selectmen going. We were holding EDC meetings at business offices and with CEOs. And also we went to other towns with our Board of Selectmen conference calls. So the more we involve them, we'll create some leverage, and other members of other boards.
Now, I agree that, and I'm glad I asked without just speaking and giving my opinion right off the bat. I think having a whole committee invited is important, and I know that would put a crimp in kind of the scheduling. I know, Marika, you had sent out a list of potential dates that could work. If you could maybe resend it in case people don't have it right at their fingertips.
I mean, it's flexible. I just thought probably during the day would be best also for Gary Holmes. I don't want to do a night meeting. I would still try to do an in-person meeting, maybe at the townhouse. So any Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday kind of would work. I mean, he asked me to just give him a few dates, but he seemed pretty flexible. Anytime, I was thinking after Thanksgiving, so starting November 29th, and then before December 9th, because he's traveling from the 9th onwards. If there's like 2 or 3 mornings that people potentially could take some time.
I'd really
right up-
like to attend, and December 1st, I have 0 availability. Any day but December 1st, I can make work.
And December 3rd is a no-go for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of Rob. I can't do the 29th or the 1st or the 2nd because I have 10 a.m. meetings all that every day. That I have 10 a.m. meetings on those days, and there's no way I'll be back in time. The 3rd is what I can do at 9 a.m. I can't. Yeah, but
And
if
the
I'm the only
following
one,
week? The following week?
I'm looking at the following week right now, which is that's the
The 6th, 7, or 8?
6 is Monday.
I'm just looking at your message. It's not sequential, so I'm just having a hard time following it. 6, 7, or 8. 6,
I mean, yeah.
7. I can't do 7. I have 10 a.m. meetings on the 7th and 8th also. I can do the 6th, but I can't do the 7th or 8th. But again, if I'm the only one, then go ahead and book it, and I just endeavor to try to catch up with someone about this. So
yeah, the 6th works on my side.
6, anyone? Going once, going twice. All right, I'll propose the 6th. What about, so I guess the 29th? Can most people make the 29th, Monday the 29th as well? I just want to give him more than one option.
I won't be here.
I can't, but if you
Okay,
If one has
No,
it
it's
without me, that's fine.
It's usually a busy day back from work.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
I
so,
can't do 29th. Sorry, Marika.
and so,
second?
I could do a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I think it will be nice. Yeah, I prefer face to face, especially if he's presenting and we're having a discussion.
yeah. What about, did we, I do agree giving him two options. Did we know about the 8th, Alan? I know the 7th was a no-go for you. What about Wednesday, the 8th?
I have a 10 a.m. meeting, so I could do it. I could do it Zoom, but I can't do it live. I have a big project coming up with multiple meetings, and they just are often at 10 a.m. So
And what about, did we have December 2nd, the previous week? Did we talk about, I thought that was an option.
I can't do. I have a
You
10
can't
a.m.
do-
meeting.
Okay.
But again, if I'm the only one, then book around me. But again, I will endeavor to try to catch up with someone. And if I realize missing one meeting really puts you behind.
Let me just try for December 6th. You know, maybe he's free. And then that would be, I guess, the best option at 9 a.m. Or I guess as early as possible. Would that work better? Or is 9 a.m. kind of?
Well, it's, I think we want to be, cognizant to his schedule. I
Yeah.
do know that my workday begins at 8:30. So, you know, I don't mind starting earlier because then it allows me to do more of my real job. So if we say Monday morning, you know, starting
Yeah.
at like what's ever most convenient, and if he's willing to come, that'd be awesome. I think face to face is good.
All right, let me try and set that up.
Awesome. So I think that was the last thing, the new business on the agenda. Public comment from our participants.
No participants.
Yeah, because we're not doing zoning. What we have to do is say, we're doing something in the downtown and we'll get people here all the time. I'm joking, of course. So with no public comment, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure, I so move. But I also want to say it's hard to believe we've come so far and won that bylaw and got it passed. It was an extraordinary amount of hard work, and we all deserve a big hug to each other to a job extraordinarily well done. It's impressive, all the work and the details that were involved. So bravo, and my motion to adjourn.
Excellent.
Again,
Excellent. I've got a motion to adjourn and a second. I'm going to go as I see them. Chris Robbins,
Yes.
Michael Moorhead,
Yes.
Alan Belenak,
yes.
Julie Connolly,
Yes.
John Wood,
Yes.
Rob Anderson. Yes. We are adjourned. Marika, let us know about that next meeting, and we will, I'll see everyone next time. Thanks. Enjoy that. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
to
Thanksgiving,
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, likewise.
Rob, do you have some time? Can I give you a quick call?
Yeah, sure. Yep. No
All
problem.
right.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.